Hi folks, this is LNB with me, Fusion, and also on the line, long distance, we have Calm. Say hi, Calm.
Hi, Calm.
That's good stuff. Alright, so today we have one of my games, which I plays over the board in real life. It's pretty sick. So, actually had to move the pieces with my hands, and the third dimension was quite tricky to get used to. But we'll see how I did.
I haven't played an on the board game since our last tournament, which was like over a year ago, easily.
Yeah, it was quite a long time ago. So this is part of the league which I used to play in. I had a I haven't had much time to play recently, but I got a game. So this is a long time control, or fairly long. I got what is it, 75 minutes for 30 moves, and then 15 minutes to finish after that, if you get that far. So that's, good time, good amount of time to calculate some stuff. So in this match, I'm playing black against a 146 rated ECF dude, which is exactly the same grade as me, so should be a good fight.
What's that in FIDE? Is it like.
It's like, I don't know, 1850, something like that, 1900 maybe,
Cool.
probably 1850, something around there.
Okay.
Because my standard is not too bad. My rapid is horrific, but you know.
Yeah. Okay, if that matches your online performance, I guess, so it makes sense.
Yeah, I guess so. So let's go into the game. And he goes and plays knight f3. So I have the score sheet in front of me, so I'll be inputting as I go along.
Okay, so when was this played? Was this the same day as Magnus was playing this?
This was probably, I don't know, I
Could
can't
have been.
remember. Could have been.
Yeah.
So I was like, what should I do here? Of course, this is stupid rutty. It could be, anyway. And I don't like that, so I played c5.
Yeah, I generally play c5 as well here. If you get e4, you transpose into Sicilian, which is obviously good for both of us, and if they play c4, you just have a symmetrical English. You can also
Yeah.
play stuff like d5, obviously, as Fishy did earlier in their match.
So yeah, unknown to me, I actually played this guy in 2011
He's since
uh,
had a sex change, so
as black, and same opening.
oh,
I won't tell you the result of that, but I'll tell you after the game. You can look at that perhaps as well.
so that was also knight f3 c5.
Yeah,
Cool.
I think I deviate first from the game, but we'll see. So he comes along with c4, so we get some kind of position like this. Knight c6, knight c3, knight f6.
I generally play g6, bishop g7 first, just in case I want to do something different with my knight, but generally it's always going to go to f6 when they've already played knight f3. If they hadn't played that knight out already in an English, you might want to put it on e7, but here it's probably always going to f6, but I still prefer doing g6, bishop g7 first, just because that's more immediate pressure on d4.
Yeah, perhaps. I mean, I just want to be flexible.
Yeah,
Don't
I guess
wanna...
here you also have the chance of playing e6, d5 as well, so you don't have to go for the g6
Yeah.
plan.
So he comes along with e4.
Okay.
Well, actually, last time I played this game, I think I played e6,
Yeah, I don't really like e6, I prefer d6 here.
and then he played e5, and I played knight g4. But in this game, I played d6. So you can see
That's
how
good.
I've adapted and changed since then. So yeah, this is my first game over the board in like 6 months or something, probably a bit longer.
What was your opponent like? Was he an old guy, or...
Well, He's 2 years older than I last played him, so
Okay.
for years I've not been kind. Right, yeah, he's I guess quite old.
He's not some young kid then, basically.
No, he's not some young kid.
Okay.
I think he's quite set in his ways. Anyway, he comes along, D3. Okay. So immediately I'm like, okay, there's a nice big hole on D4. Mm-hmm. So what am I going to do? I'm going to play G6 and stick my bishop on the diagonal.
Yeah,
seems like.
There's multiple plans. I'd go for the same plan as you. You can also play E5 and just kind of mirror it and put your knight on D4. They'll put their knight on D5, or you can do some E6, D5 plan. I prefer the way you do it as well, just because it has more synergy with like the other openings I play, because I play a lot of kingside fianchetto systems as black.
So he plays B3. It's not particularly. I guess he's trying to neutralise my bishop on G7.
Yeah, I prefer playing it somewhere like G5 or F4 or E3, and then just playing Queen D2 and neutralising it via bishop H6 at a later point compared to this, because I feel like this doesn't really give any imbalance for white to play with.
Yeah. So I haven't done any analysis on this game, really. So we're both going to be looking at this quite fresh. Yep. So we might miss a couple of things, but hopefully we'll find them out on the way. So at this point, I start to have a little think about what I'm going to play here, and the move that looks really inviting to me is Queen A5, which is what I do play, just because you've got a nice pin on the king, on the knights, and again both ways really with the other bishop. And then after Queen D2, which is what I was expecting, and which is what he played, I think I was just he can't really do so much, I don't think. I mean, well, I can't really remember what I was thinking. Let's see.
And maybe just with normal moves like bishop G4, bishop E2, you always have the option of taking and putting a knight on D4, which is strong. Stuff like that.
Yeah, I was just thinking, it's like if he plays a knight move, well, he can't play it now, but next move, he moves his knight to like D5 or something. Well, that's not. I've got a few things where I take his queen, then I can take his knight and bishops. Some stuff around, some stuff like that. Just could be a little annoying for him.
Yeah.
So anyway, I castle here.
I think I would have still castled first before playing any Queen A5 kind of move, just because it's more flexible, and I don't think that we've got any immediate tricks with taking that, because I think Queen D2 is quite a normal move for him. But I generally like to just castle and develop every piece like once.
Yeah, I think my reasoning was I didn't want to play bishop b2 and castles quickly. I wanted to get that pin straight away, so it kind of forces his queen to d2. I mean, he might wanted to have put it somewhere else. I'm not quite sure where, but I guess he still could.
Okay. Yeah, I don't really mind when it's like when we have not disagreements, but like differences in opinion of move, when there's a good plan behind it or a plan behind it. I think it's just like one of the mistakes more intermediate players make is they do moves without a plan necessarily, or they play moves quickly in the opening and then they don't have a plan, and it's kind of awkward. And I think you've got a lot better in that in the last couple of years, I think. Especially.
Yeah, that's what I've tried to concentrate on, and doing these videos, it helps. Try and work out plans, So bishop b2, he plays, and that's normal move.
Where else could he go?
So yeah, exactly. So bishop g4 is what I decide on. So I think pretty much every single one of my moves so far has been developing and useful. So I was pretty happy at this point.
Yeah, I'd agree. I'd also actually probably take your position over his, even though it is pretty much equal. But I like the idea that, you know, well, basically all the pieces are in the same place, but we've got a bishop on g4 as opposed to his on e2. So our bishop is objectively slightly better, I'd say. And also you've got this pin, which maybe doesn't do so much, but it's still there. And I think basically you've got the control of the decisions, because you can dictate when you take on f3, for example, whereas he's just kind of defending against the threat.
So he castles here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a pretty normal looking move, I guess. Gets out of that kind of pin. But I have this nice move, knight d4 here, which I think is good. So, I mean, I'm threatening quite a few different things. Let's just try some variations.
Mm-hmm.
So, after knight takes, he didn't play this, but this is what I was thinking. So after knight takes, you got some moves like pawn takes, I think. And then, if for example this, moving the knight out of the way, then after queen takes, you just pick up the bishop and, you know, winning here.
Yeah.
So he can't move the knight, so he has to take the bishop, right?
Yeah, and then here you can, well,
so I think,
I mean, you have the option basically. You can take on g5 or you can take on c3. But if you take on c3, you'll take back with the bishop with tempo on your queen, so you can't pick up both pieces.
yeah, so it's, you know, well, I don't think we're winning a piece here. So I think, what was I going to do? I think I was going to take on g4 in my head. And then, after he moves out of the way, I guess he can only go to b1.
Yeah.
I think I was going to swing over to h5.
Yeah, and it's a good idea because his pieces have kind of undeveloped themselves over into that queenside thing. And by having that pawn on d4, you've got like a massive blockade against his bishop, essentially. And your bishop on g7 adds an extra square to look at, so your bishop is just better, relatively speaking. And although after queen h5 you're attacking h3, the other threat behind that is you can play something like bishop h6 with tempo on his queen as well, or just bishop e5. And
yeah, so I was pretty happy if this position came about.
Yeah.
Let's go back. Oops. Didn't want to do that. Oh dear, I can't get it back, so let me just blitz it out. Slight technical hitch. You can play some elevator music in the meantime.
Yeah, I'm hoping you like the look of this video, by the way, everyone. You will see that it's in 720p, and it's of reasonable mic quality, so as you all know, it only took me 100 or so videos to finally sort my quality out.
Yeah. At least you got there in the end.
Yeah.
Hopefully. You don't screw it up.
Yeah.
Hopefully. So, yeah, castles, knight d4.
Yes, the most obvious move to me, instead of knight d4, would have been just take on f3 first, but I think what you found is probably better, actually, because of those lines you said, and also the fact that when he takes on d4, it's kind of an additional way to support your queen a5 plan, if you like, because your queen is now able to go across that 5th rank, and that's something that if I'd played the position I wouldn't have the chance to do. So this move has like extra synergy with that, I think, so it's nice.
So, yeah. So another point is, if he does nothing, it's always good to see what if he does nothing. What's the point of this plan? Sorry for any background. If he does like this, for example, King H1.
Mm-hmm.
What is my plan here? I think I was gonna do some taking on F3 or E2 or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I
can't remember.
I think taking on F3 is always a good option. It depends what type of game you want to play. Because if you played, for example, bishop takes F3, he has the option of bishop takes or pawn takes, but whatever he does, if he plays pawn takes, you can play E5 immediately and your knight is really strong. Or if he takes with the bishop, he can then trade and then you can play E5. Well,
Yeah.
maybe not E5 is so amazing, but the idea is that basically his pawns are isolated and doubled, and you have some kind of static advantage to play against.
Yeah, perhaps that King H1 wasn't the best thing.
Yeah, I mean A3 can play knight takes B3, so probably not that either.
Yeah, I was trying to find a move which doesn't annoy me. Let's do that.
Yeah, just any rook move. I'd say rook E1 or rook C1 are probably...
Because what I wanted to show was like things like if he takes, I can take here or something, and if he takes here, I can take there, and he can take here, and I can take there. Those are the kind of things I was looking at.
Oh yeah, that's good. Yeah, I guess I didn't really realise when you played Queen A5 like how persistent that threat would be once he's kind of negated it by playing Queen D2. It just seems like these tricks are kind of always on almost. So
yeah, so of course when he castles away, he loses his defender with his queen. So
yeah, and also his bishop's on an unusual square because normally it would be on somewhere like E3 where it would defend the queen, but here he's kind of subjected himself to it, if you like, by playing out like that to B2.
So I think he played the most accurate move in the position, which is Rook FD1. Defending the queen, essentially. So stuff doesn't work. So here I decide to play just to see if he... Well, it's not to see if he falls for these tricks, but I'm going to double his pawns here.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that decision. Because you've already developed all your pieces, your rooks are connected already. It's kind of, a chance to go for these static advantages.
Yep. So he decides in this case to take with the G pawn.
Yeah, so
which is kind of dubious, I think.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think taking with the bishop would be much better because by doing this, he's actually kept your knight really strong and his bishop really weak. If he gets his bishop to f3, it's not quite as bad a piece because it's not as blocked in, even though you have the option to take it. I think if you had to have a few free moves here, your plan would essentially be e5 and then knight h5 to knight f4. You could, play bishop h6 or something. You just have complete lockdown around his king. You could bring your queen back into the action via c7, d7, h3, and it's pretty much going to be over. So it's a situation where you've got an obvious plan if he doesn't make any moves, and those are the kind of best plans, if you like, because you can see what to do in most situations. The way for him to react against that is, of course, to play, f4 quickly, but if you play something like e5 here and he plays f4, you have bishop h6, which would pin. So, that's kind of awkward for him. And also the fact that if you play e5, although that's generally a bad idea when we've got bishops on g7, usually they don't have bishops on b2, but when you play e5 and they have bishop on b2, you're blunting it, and also you have the option of bishop h6 in a lot of these lines.
Yeah. I didn't want to play e5 right away now anyway, because I just wanted to make sure that I could defend d5 if necessary with a pawn, so I could take control of it. Anyway, the move I decide to play is knight h5, not h5, just knight h5. It kind of sucks him into playing knight d5, because he wants to release the pressure, essentially.
Okay.
Because after knight d5, if for example like queen takes, he's got this intermediate move, knight takes e7.
Yeah. You have this trap in the dragon, the pure dragon, quite often. And it's pretty annoying. But yeah.
So I kind of thought he would try and go for that, and which he did. He did do knight g5, but obviously I wasn't going to take. So
You had another plan.
yeah, I moved back queen d8.
Although interestingly, if you go back to that position,
Uh,
just after queen takes queen, rook takes queen. Bishop h6 here looks like it might be something. Well, no, because I guess you can play bishop takes d4 and then rook b2. But I was thinking that the rook had no spaces and then e2 hangs, but yeah. Okay, it doesn't work because of bishop takes d4.
Okay, yeah, I have to be careful about some of these things. So yeah, I move back to queen d8. My plan is to play e6, kicking him out, and then queen to h4 or somewhere around there. So I move my queen all the way around, and his pieces are stuck. He can't do anything really.
Yeah, so it's a good plan, and I think the difference between that and my line was I was going to end up on h3, whereas your queen's aiming for h4, and in some ways that's going to be more supportive because you're covering the f4 square again. And also by not playing e5, you have the option of bishop e5, which again can, add extra pressure to h2, control f4, and you've still got kind of tricky moves whilst his king is on g1, because you have like knight takes f3 check or knight takes e2 check in some positions if he moves his queen away from supporting his bishop on b2. So I actually think you've arguably found a better plan, especially given that the knight d5 move which he's played kind of falls into your plan again, because you're planning to play e6 anyway, so you're essentially gaining a tempo on that knight again.
Yeah. So I have had I did have half an hour or something to think about this plan, and you've had 2 minutes. So
yeah, I think my plan is fine.
Yeah.
I think your plan's fine too, but it's just interesting how I think subtle differences. I think he made a mistake with the g takes f3, like you said, and that's basically allowed us to have multiple good plans, and I think they're all slightly better for black anyway.
So his next move was f4, and I pretty much play e6. Which perhaps I could have thought about it a bit more, because I didn't even realise that he was attacking h5. To be honest, when I played that move, but he goes and snaps it off.
Okay, so I guess the other thing you could do, the most normal thing to me would have seemed, instead of e6.
Yeah, you can go back and move it if you want.
So it's just something like this, because then after all these trades, it's nice to move somewhere, and then f4 hangs, but maybe this is, I don't know, we're gaining this pawn, which looks good, but after something like this, f6 is kind of weak, so it's kind of awkward.
Yeah, we kind of lost our attack.
And then you get mated, so that would be unfortunate. But yeah. I don't want to click revert, do I? Because that'll go right back to the start.
Yeah, okay, I'll do it.
Okay.
So f4, e6, there we go. Okay, so 15 is this, bishop take h5.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought, well, let's see if I can be a little tricky. If I take on h5, then he has to worry about knight f6, no, knight f3
Yeah.
forks.
Yeah, because if he just moves back his knight, which in many ways is a natural move because it's under attack, you have knight f3 check in every position, winning his queen.
Yeah, so I was pretty happy. Anyway, he takes my knight, so
Shame.
c'est la vie. But I take the back with the bishop, and his rook is under attack, and his knight is hanging. Fortunately for him, he can move it back, so he gets a little lucky in that scenario.
Maybe he had it all planned. Whole
Maybe.
game.
And I follow up with queen h4. So at the moment, I am pretty happy with this position. You know, out of the opening
Yeah, so I mean
and into the middle game.
yeah, so it's even material. You've both got double pawns, but I would just say that your bishop is a lot better than his knight. And once you've played queen h4, I'd also say that your queen is in a lot better position. And it also further inhibits his knight, because he'd like to play something like knight e2 to g3, but obviously f2 would hang. If he played knight e2 immediately, and his rook hangs on a1 as well, so it's kind of awkward. I think you're probably both going to end up moving a king and using the g file for the rooks. Yeah, I agree with your assessment that you'd be happy here. What were the times like around here?
I didn't actually write down the times,
Okay.
but let's see. So move 17. We probably got, I don't know, half an hour, 40 minutes left probably.
And that's to 30 moves, so you probably got a couple of minutes to move, so it's still...
Yeah, two or 3 minutes to move, yeah.
Yeah, somewhat the same as beginning, so no real time pressure.
No, not right now, I don't think. So, of course, his knight is pinned, so he wants to get out of that. So he does that with rook ac1. And now I am thinking about mating him. You know, obviously.
Well, you always think about that, but you may actually have some legitimate hopes at the moment.
Yeah, so...
I mean, his threat is kind of knight b5 to trade off your bishop, and, you know, if you haven't done anything about d6, he can also take there. But, you know, whether that d6 pawn is worth anything, whether you want to just have a quicker attack along the g-file is...
Yeah, I think I'll play through the game first without going deeply into some alternative variations. We can come back quickly for those. So I played queen g4 check.
And what was the idea here?
Well, the idea is he moves his king somewhere. I play king h8, rook g8, and he dies.
Okay. I think other good points about it is that if he plays king h1, which in some ways is the more natural safe move, that's obviously going to be a bad move in this position because you have queen f3 check as well, which you know allows you to get your rook there without the queen in the way. Yeah.
Yep. So that was my hope. You played king c1 though. Sorry, king f1. I wrote down king c1 on my score sheet.
I do that sometimes.
Yeah.
It would be king c1 if he was black.
Yeah. And then I had to decide, what am I going to do here? What's the best way? I probably should have done that first, but because the queen g4 check, because it's a check, is forcing, so that's nice. So here I go for queen f3.
Okay.
But is there anything better?
I mean, queen h3 check would be the, again, another forcing move, because it's another check. And you could potentially pick up h2, but I think that would be dangerous. Because there's a potential of playing rook h1 in a lot of positions, although not, you know, somewhat immediately, because if it's something like queen h3, king e2, queen takes h2, you know, you're threatening to take on f2, and...
Yeah.
It's awkward, but it would require quite a bit of calculation. The queen f3 is more restrictive to him. It means he can't really do anything to oppose you, because if he plays knight e2, you mate him on f2, and if he plays queen e2, you mate him on h1. So in some ways, this is has more tricks in it. So
Yeah.
it doesn't surprise me at all that you played this.
Always go for the tricky play.
Yeah.
Of course, I realised at this point that I can't stop him going knight b5.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
But at the same time, you can also pick up the h pawn again, compared to the queen h3 line with this as well. So you can always take that pawn back if you want it.
yeah. So he does play this knight b5. And here I'm like, okay, I'll play king h8. Just allow him to take my bishop. So I don't know if that's best practical chances, or I don't know. Just because my pawn still controls e3 and c3, so he still can't put his stuff there.
Yeah, it's still useful, and he still always has to worry about that queen e2, which looks like the most obvious move.
Yeah, exactly.
Mated. You could try something with like bishop g7 back to h6 to like attack f4, because it's kind of awkward for him to deal with that, given all his pieces are kind of tied up. But at the same time, you do lose d6 there. You may lose b7 or something. So it's kind of it's a long-winded plan, which
it's not my style really.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of unraveling. So no, he takes on d4. I take back.
It would be interesting if he took on d6 there, because you couldn't play rook g8 immediately because he could take on f7. So maybe you'd play the other rook, say, to d8 or something, and then he'd take on b7 again with tempo on your rook. So again, you move it, and then maybe you can go to c5 for tempo. So it's kind of awkward.
After rook d8 and he takes b7, I'll just move my other rook to g8, I think, if I could. But that's the point.
Maybe you could then sack the rook. I'm not sure. Maybe. No, I don't know.
Anyway, he plays queen b4, so he's kind of activating his queen now and being a little bit annoying. He's eyeing d6 and b7.
But at the same time, he leaves f4 to hang, so he's kind of giving up on one pawn, although he's attacking your own. I think he's trying to basically go for active counterplay, because all his king is on the wrong side relative to his pieces, and with that queen f3 move, you really locked him down, I think.
Yeah. I do take on f4 though, just because I think this d6, I don't want him really getting into my position so easily, and this seems like a useful move.
Yeah, I think he also hit h2 here, and also, that queen e2 line doesn't exist anymore because his queen moved, and if he takes on b7, you're not as worried about that pawn, and the queen on f4 now defends f7, so you can play your rook to g8 as you were planning before, or whatever, without any time losses, essentially.
So he plays it to b7.
Mm-hmm.
And I play rook g8 here.
Yep.
Obviously, because I'm going for the win.
Yep.
And so now time is starting to be an issue. We're counting down now.
Okay. So you have 6 moves left each, right?
Yeah, pretty much. So he plays c5 because he wants to get his rook in the game, which is understandable, I guess. And I have to be wary that if I do nothing about it, it's going to go all the way to c8 and queen.
Yeah.
So I basically just decided to snap it off.
Probably the safest.
Which is probably best, I think.
Yeah. I think if you let that pawn push to c6, you can suddenly get in all kinds of trouble, because he's also threatening to sack on a8 at some point and push c7 as well. So
yeah. So he takes it, and that's okay. So what do you do here in this position?
I mean, the thing is, h5 hangs, h2 hangs. We could take on h2. We could play something like queen f3 to hit that rook and tie his king down more. With the idea after queen f3 to play some rook to g2 plan to like attack f2, threaten a mate there. But then you have to worry about like the a8 rook hanging. You may have already defended f2 if he's played rook d2 after you played queen f3. So it's kind of a line that requires a lot of calculation, which doesn't go hand in hand with your "you both have no time" kind of statement.
So I was thinking exactly the same thing as you would, and well, I did play queen f3 because at least I can play that, and that doesn't require.
I mean, it's got a direct
calculation.
It's rook as well. So again, it's a kind of forcing move, which is always useful to have in time pressure.
So for the viewers at home, what would you play in this situation? Just pause the video, give yourself 10 seconds or a minute perhaps to think about what you could do, because it's actually black to play and win.
Okay, I see it now, yeah.
Okay, so welcome back to the video. Go on then, Calm. Show us how it's done.
Oh, well, you're going to make me show it? Okay, well, I hope I get it right then. I think something like this.
Rook g1 check. Okay, I guess I'll take it then.
Okay, so then we have basically two options. We have the rook g8 check, or we also have this move. I don't know which. I guess this one first, because it's a check and the king is forced to stay on the first rank, and then wherever he goes, we can take here.
Yeah, okay, I'm coming this way.
And now we can come in back here with this check.
Ah, you're going there. I don't really want to do that. I'm going to go over here.
And then we have this.
There we go. That would have been a nice end to the game, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I didn't see it.
Yeah, well, neither did I. Of course, if he goes here, what do you do?
Okay, so here we'd have this move.
And then I'm going to go and block you here.
Okay, but then we have this, mate.
That's a good plan. How about I go over here?
Then I still have this, mate.
Yeah.
I'm good at these. These one move check me.
Okay, well, so yeah, I didn't see that. I mean, probably not surprising.
It's one of those things where you get similar positions in like tactics books and things, where the king is kind of cut off from his other pieces, so it's like they try and make it look really good, like it's even material or even down material, but somehow we're able to sack more and win. But you just don't think it's that realistic that they come up in games, and then when it does, it's I don't know. Now I've seen it. I think I probably should have seen it, but it
I know.
Came out of nowhere.
I mean, I think in the game I started looking for those kind of things now. So one move too late. So my queen, now the sack doesn't work. You know, if you try and sack, the queen's in the wrong place. I think. Plus his rook his rook's moved. So I mean, you try it now. Check. Queen d4 check, and now you can't go to d1.
Yeah, and if you played rook g8, rook g8 instead, again, you could just hide on f1, and after queen h1 check, you could run to e2. So, yeah, the rook d2 is an important move in the defense.
Yeah, and if you hadn't played rook d2, if you played like rook c1 or something like that, again, that covers.
Yeah, okay. So it's just that d1's undefended, basically.
So that was the key, which is slightly annoying, but never mind. So what do you do now? What did I do now? I played queen h3 check. I was like, I think he offered a draw at this point. I was like, no thanks, I don't want to draw.
So you don't want to draw. You're both really low on time. You've got 4 more moves to make, or 3 more moves after your check.
Yeah.
So you're just probably gonna go after the H pawn, or what was your main idea? Just that you had slightly more time, maybe? I'm not sure.
No, I was behind on time, and now here I had like under 5 minutes. I think it was down. Yeah, it was under 5 minutes here.
Okay.
Probably like 2 minutes.
Hmm.
Now, um, okay, so I'll tell you what played in game. Rook b8,
Okay.
Queen c7, and then a draw here.
Okay.
So we agreed to draw here because I had no time.
Because you had no time, yeah. Okay.
And so, it was like, okay, we were ahead in the match as well because it's a 6-board match.
Yeah, yeah.
So I thought I'd take the half point.
Yeah.
And
Also,
here,
he was even rating with you, did you say?
yeah,
So it's not like it's a bad result to get a draw with black.
yeah. So
Okay.
I took a draw here. I mean, here I think it is a draw.
Well,
Probably.
I mean, you can try fun. Well, maybe not here, but if you go back a move,
Yeah, let's go.
you can
So
try
this,
fun things like this.
yeah. So this is what I was calculating in the game, because obviously you can take on on a8. So then you play King g7, and now he has no more checks apart from Rook g5.
Yeah, so this is the difference between the other line where you've played Rook b8 and Queen c7, because he could check on e5 here.
Yeah, I mean, I was the thing that I think I was worrying about in game was something like this, because what I want to do is play this, and then if he can't run away here, he has to play that and this.
Hmm.
But in this line, he can do that.
Well, yeah, but even here you could play this. But again, it's not necessarily winning because he has 2 rooks for it as well.
Yeah.
So
But,
it is super risky, and it's a very low time situation. So
but what I missed was if I did this, he can only go here, and then I go here,
yeah, it's
and
nice.
then I take on a, and then I'm winning.
Yeah.
So that wouldn't have worked.
Yeah.
So
that's hard.
perhaps if I had tried that in game, I don't know if I would have seen it after e5. I don't know what I would have done if I had played this. Then obviously I could do your rook e1 stuff, and it would have been interesting. And we would have reached 30 moves at this point, so I'd have got an extra 15 minutes.
I think.
But it's quite risky.
Yeah, I think white would be fine because he can just connect his rooks easily, and he can get but then again, his h pawn should fall, and then you've got h pawns to push. But still, if he just puts his rooks on d1 and c1, I don't think you can really queen anything. So I think he should be fine. But yeah.
So, and the things I were perhaps worrying about, if I didn't play Rook G1, let's go back and play something else. What would you play on move 27, alternative move? Let's just do this for a start. Wow. I guess I can do this so I go back a bit. He has to come here.
Yeah. Okay.
Rook G1 is the best move, but yeah, okay, go.
Well, if we do that Rook G1, maybe the best defense is something like this. Well, no, but then this check again. I guess we can't do that.
So the things I was worrying about is if I don't do this Rook G1 move, if I play something like this, because he's kind of threatening this kind of stuff, isn't he? You know, stuff along the F file with his rook and queen, and he's going to clear up the A pawns, and he's going to push his pawns. So these are the kinds of things I was thinking in game.
Yeah, I mean, when you've got low time, it's very awkward because it looks here like he's got a lot of pressure on the F file, and like your pieces are kind of tied down to it. So when you have no time, you're kind of thinking that potentially in an endgame you could find that the A and B pawns push forwards, and then he's got a passer there and it's supporting and stuff. But really, it's like too far ahead planning to like even consider.
Well, unfortunately, hitting this position, there's not much he can do. Is there? So if he goes back here, I can play this. He goes there. And then you can play this. It's genius.
But then he can take on f7.
Yeah.
And defense f2. But then I guess you can take on f2 anyway because the other rook continues.
It's pretty low. That's a pretty ridiculous line.
So that would be, yeah. But I mean, that's the thing. It's
difficult. So difficult to see these things. So I mean, if I had played,
if you played faster, you would have been able to see them. But would you have gotten the same position had you spent less time? Is always the big question.
So let's say here. Let's say after this. You know. So this is the game, or perhaps what would have happened in the game.
He went to c7 instead, but if he'd taken on this... Yeah.
If he'd taken on this, I was thinking, well, what can I do? The best I can do is a draw, I think. I have to check him. Because what's my other plan? What would you do here? I mean, I can't now do this rook g1 move, because his queen can take on b8 and then check
on e5.
e5.
Yeah. I would, I'd be looking... I mean, even though we're only down, like, a pawn, our pawns in the H file are also awkward, so I'd be looking for some kind of repetition here.
Yeah.
I mean, you could take on H2, but then you're just kind of playing on into a worse position, because you can just take on the F7, and then he's also got, support against F2, and he could, if he wants, just move his king to D1, to C2, to B2, and it'll be fine. And then I think we're in big trouble, because H5 is hit here, he's just throwing Queen F6, E6 hangs. And,
I was hoping after Rook AB8 he would do this, and then I could do this, and then they'd be pretty screwed.
Yeah, basically, because F2 is such a problem. Or you could do that, and we could just play Queen takes Queen.
Bam!
Or you could not. Yeah, okay, so that would win as well.
Oh yeah, do that. Same thing, right? Oh, you could do this again with the. I saw this kind of thing, getting up on the F2 pawn.
Yeah, I mean the way I would do it is this, but obviously you prefer the way where you sack everything. But yeah, that seems to win. Opening up the F file is risky to him, unless he can tie down a rook or exchange a pair or something. So
it's pretty interesting game, I thought.
Yeah, actually, a lot of the interesting tactics came right at the end. So that is a problem that I have as well. Sometimes I tend to run my time very close to the end, as anyone who's watched any of my commentaries knows. I tend to spend all my time in the opening, but I get good positions out of it, and then it's can I convert, and this would be one of the cases where we weren't quite able to, but we still got a draw out of it, so all was not lost. And what was the end result? Did the team
Well, we were 3-2 up. No. 3-1 up.
Okay. So your draw basically guaranteed the win.
No, sorry. I mean, 3-1 up after I got my draw.
Okay. So you guaranteed at least a draw.
Yeah, and then we looked equal on the last two boards. But of course, then they went and lost, so we only got half the point.
Well, yeah. I think that Rook G8, Rook G2 sack that won was pretty
Rook G1,
good,
yeah,
but
yeah.
it was, I didn't see it immediately either. So, given the time pressure,
yeah,
I wouldn't find it either.
Yeah, it's quite interesting, the psychology, in time pressure, and then when he has some pressure, or some perceived pressure, on the 7th rank, it's like, no, because you're sacking a piece, you have to work out all the variations, because if his king escapes somehow, then you're just down a piece, down a rook, and you're dead essentially. So
Yeah. I always find it harder to play sax on the board as well, just for some reason. I have a big, I think, mental leak there.
So, I mean, just we're going back into the game. Like, even on move 14, I just got the engine running, and yeah, it's like -2 already.
What does it suggest? Just what you played, or was it?
After this, I think that's what you said, right?
Yeah.
Bishop takes b2, queen takes b2, e6, knight c3, like this 4. It's -1.
So I suggested knight e3 and knight g4 just for the cheapo knight h6 checkmate, but I'm sure there was a way to deal with that, just e5 or something. So the computer playing knight c3 isn't you're not quite there.
Yeah.
But if we go like here, because knight h6 now is checkmate, so even if you play f5s, you just play something like e5 instead, and that would stop it.
Or queen g5, bam.
Yep. Well, yeah. I mean, you can't play knight f6 here because of the pin. So yeah, that works.
Yeah, and then you pick it up, pick up the knight.
Yeah, but I mean, the way you played, still better for black, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, so
and
that was nice.
You said that was purely because you completely missed that the bishop was attacking h5. So, and maybe you made that move too quickly.
Yeah, that was the only move I think I made too quickly. I was too busy, like, I thought he would just have to move because I'm taking my piece already. I was attacking his piece, so I didn't really think about it.
More forcing than it was. Okay,
Yeah.
well, it was a cool game.
Yep. Okay, so that was a good game, I think, and I guess we'll end it here because it's been a decent length video. So thanks for watching. Any last comments from Calm?
No, I think you played pretty well. I think it was. It would have been very impressive if you'd seen that ending in 2 minutes and won, because that would have been a great end. But no, I think it was. I think you had the advantage pretty much all game. I think you played the opening well, and yeah, maybe you just missed that you could take an h5, and then at the end didn't quite have enough time. But I wouldn't really blame myself for the not enough time at the end. But maybe moving instantly and losing h5 was a bit of an error, which.
Yeah, I think it was still the best move anyway. E6.
Yeah, but yeah, it was good. It's entertaining. Lots of tricks.
Perhaps the last game I played against this guy, we might have done an LB on it. I'll see if I can find it. If we did do one, and I'll link it in the comments. And because I think that was an entertaining video as well, or game anyway. Probably the video was entertaining because we are such an amazing commentary pair, as I'm sure you know. If you got this far, you must agree, because otherwise I have no idea why you're watching a chess video for an hour if you didn't find it educational or entertaining.
They're just sadistic.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. There's like the sound of your voice. Probably they just listen to it to go to sleep.
Yeah, that's what I do with other people, and
and sometimes your own videos.
A lot better than mine. So yeah.
All right then, that's a good game. So I guess we'll see you next time on Late Night Blitz.